6:30, so we're gonna get started. Everybody, my name is Mike. I go by DJ Access, and today we're gonna be doing a seminar on making mixes in Ableton. DJ Lord JB is here. I see him in the chat. He got here just in time. So we're gonna start with that. This is a question that JB had. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next. I read every single comment and I try to reply. So ask questions about Ableton. Ask questions about things you want me to cover, and we'll build a really awesome DJ community together. If you are watching this now and you know someone who's looking to make mixes in Ableton, please share this with them so they can get the information, they can ask questions. And I think we're going to get started. So here's what Ableton looks like, everybody. I think you guys can see my mouse. Yes, you can. Okay, so over here we have each track. You have your master channel down here, so whatever these tracks are doing will come out of here. And then, so when I make my mixes, I actually have a mixtape template that I use. I'm not going to save that. And this is my mixtape template. So you see I only have one track. And then on my master channel, which is what everyone's going to hear, we have a glue compressor and a limiter. And I like the glue compressor first because what a compressor does is it mushes things together. So it takes loud sounds and it brings them down, and it takes quiet sounds and it moves them up. So if the sounds are like this, a compressor makes it so it goes like this. And so you're not going to get as much range. With here, you have a lot of dynamic range. You're going to have sounds that are really low and sounds that are really high. And if you add a compressor, it's literally going to compress the audio file so that, you know, all the loud stuff is a little bit more quiet and all the quiet stuff is a little more loud, so it goes like this. And you can see what I'm using for that, and that just makes it so the tracks that are coming in are level. And then I also have a limiter on here just as a fail safe, so you know, if they get past if you know something's too loud and I miss it and the glue compressor misses it, I have a limiter on here to kind of squash it and make sure I'm not peaking anything. So the glue compressor is doing a lot of the work, and the limiter is just basically, you know, overseeing, making sure that the glue compressor is doing its job. So that's the master channel. I really don't touch it like that. I do have both of these on as I mix. Some people do not. Some people turn these off and then we'll add them at the end. I want to do this process as little as possible, so I just leave them on, and what I'm hearing is actually what's going to be coming out of the speaker. Let's see. Faded better make the mixtape. I don't know what that means. Oh yeah, faded better make the mixtape. It's a 2020 mix, Adam. He's talking about some Soul Decision from I think the year 2000, because I had it in my 90s folder and I was wrong about that. But check me on that. When Faded by Soul Decision came out. So again, we have your master channel. That's what it looks like. That's done. If you just want to use a regular compressor that you're more familiar with, you can. And you technically don't have to use a limiter, but I like to. So on the track, you'll notice I have this audio effect rack. And if you're new to Ableton, this could look a little bit scary, but it's not. It actually makes things really, really easy. So an audio effect rack is basically like a folder for all of your audio effects. And what I like to do is I like to put them all in a box, and then I like to have one knob here, and that controls all these different things. So if you look, I have a utility. And a utility is basically volume control. It also can do mono stereo, but we're just using it for volume control. Right here we have our gain. I have it -4 dB. So what that does is songs are coming in at 0 dB. You know, when a producer produces a song, they want it to be loud so it sounds good on everything next to Spotify, iTunes, all that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to bring it down 4 dB, and that'll give us some headroom to work with when we start mixing, because if we mix two songs that are at 0 dB together, those together are going to really peak the limiter and give us some not great gain staging. If you don't know what gain stages is, Google it real quick and then come back to this. So we got our utility turning down the volume. I don't really mess with that at all. That's just something that I do. And then it goes into my next volume control right here. And you can see that green little dot means that I believe it's called the macro controlling it. And all the macro is, it's like I have the control somewhere else. So the control for this second utility is right here. And now as I move this, that moves, right? So instead of having to open up the utility and then change the gain, I have it right here, and that's the same on all my effect racks. So I'm just going to put this back to 0. Next, I have the EQ3. And this is basically those 3 EQ knobs in the middle of your mixer. Low, medium, and high. You can actually go in and change what the different frequencies are that they're controlling. But you'll notice I have my green dot again on gain low. 90% of the time when you're doing a mix, the EQ knob that you're going to touch is the low. So I have it kind of here. I can close that, but if I move it here, that controls the low volume. So already I control volume and I control the low, and I could probably make most mixtapes just with those. There are some times when I do want other things to spice up the mix, and that's why I have this filter. For those of you who are familiar with the Pioneer DJM line, the 800, 900, and such, this is almost the identical filter that is here. So if I go this side, it's going to be a high-pass filter, and if I go the other side, it's going to be a low-pass filter, much like you would see on there. So I do have to put it back to, I think 65 is 12 o'clock, and that'll make it so it's not doing anything. So that's this area right here, DJM filter, and that's a free plugin you can just look at on the internet. Oh, thanks for the host, DJ Tico. I appreciate that, man. And we got EQ3, we talked about that, DJM filter, and then the last one is this limiter here. And I guess it's technically not last because I put the reverb after it, but the limiter basically brings the track back up after we've messed with it to make sure it's in line with all the other tracks. This is something that I'll use in an emergency situation if I need to change one thing without changing everything else, I'll come in here and adjust that. But that's just making sure that when the track goes out, it's not peaking anything. And then the last thing I have is the reverb, and you can use any reverb that you're comfortable with. I think one with a long decay time usually helps for when you're doing with DJ mixes. So you can see I have a green mark there. I have it at 4.05 seconds, and that is my decay over here. So again, I don't have to open up this and see all these other controls. I just see the control I want. Decay, boom, green button, decay. Same thing, dry, wet. I have the verb option right here. You can change the names of these too if those don't make sense. Like I can put reverb or dry, wet, whatever it is. But if I move this, that goes the dry, wet. And I use reverb on a lot of my mixes, so I put that in there too. So instead, and I'm just going to show you guys why this is so easy. So instead of having all of this open, all these different control knobs, right? I can close almost all of them, or hide almost all of them, and then I just have the controls that I need. Volume, low, filter, reverb, and then the decay on the reverb. So that should make it a lot easier. DJ Lord JB asks, you will apply these various effects per track, or this controls the overall mix? These are per track. So if you notice, if I double click here on this first track, that's where this is. If I go to the master track, that's what's affecting all of the tracks within here. So there's my master, and there's my master, and then this is the track. So this is on every track. And you're probably wondering how we add it to every track. Well, I have this bass line here. And just to make sure I didn't mess anything up, I am going to reopen this. I don't want to save it. So here we are again on the master channel. We're going to click to the track. Here's my effect rack. And let's say I'm making a 6-song mixtape. I'm going to duplicate this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then now I have all of my tracks here. And they all have the same thing. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how I made this audio effect rack, because once I get into mixing, it's basically just practice. And it's very much like mixing live, except instead of doing it live, it's more like a canvas. Like you can see you'll see kind of once we start mixing that you'll have all the tracks laid out, and it's very easy to go and make changes rather than having to restart and do everything live. So I'm going to go to new live set. Don't save. This is what pops up for me whenever I say new live set. You'll see it's different. I have my tracks here, but I don't have my pre-populated audio effect track, but that's okay because we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to click over to here and get all my stuff open. I'm going to go to the first one, audio effect track. I'm going to drag that down. And so I can drag the audio effects here. The first one I'm going to do, just to make it easy, is the utility. Boom. Now I'm going to open this up so I can see the macros. You see how I open that up with this? Boom, there are my macros. And for the gain, I'm going to right click, on the gain and go map to macro 1. And then now I'm going to change this to volume, rename, or control R, volume, boom. And then now I have a volume control right here on my effect rack. So let's say I really like reverb. Actually, there is a reason that the order matters here. So I'm going to go volume, or actually going to go EQ next. So I'm going to grab EQ3. You'll see on my low, my mids, and my high. I don't really care about the mid and the high. All I want is my low. So you see I'm already mapped to VOL volume. So I'm going to map to macro 2. And I can hide this. And now I have my low. And that's really all I need. But I'm going to put an additional limiter on here just to be safe. And then I also am going to put some reverb so that can help with our mix. So I'm just going to grab the default reverb. Decay time is 216. I'm going to bump that up to around 4. So I like a nice long decay time. I'm going to bring my dry wet down. I'm going to bring right click dry wet, map to macro 3. And instead of dry wet, I'm going to put verb or reverb. And then for macro 4, I'm going to do that decay time in case we need to adjust that. So boom, map to macro 4. And we'll just put, we'll name this tail, because that's like the tail of the reverb. The decay is like how long the reverb goes on afterwards. And feel free to ask questions. I'm checking the chat as much as I can, but this should be helpful. So there's my reverb. I can hide that, and boom, volume, gain, reverb, and tail. And that's all we really need. You can get crazy with it. If you find yourself using one of these effects a lot, you can add it to your audio effect rack. You know to right click and add it to your macro, and then boom, we're ready to go. I'm going to delete this track. I'm just going to duplicate this 6 times, or 5 times rather. And then we're going to grab some music. So I downloaded some royalty-free music so that we're not going to get bumped on Facebook or YouTube. And I'm going to start with just 2 kind of pop funk records. I'm just dragging this over from iTunes and going here. Now you'll see down here towards the bottom right, this is loading the track. All that's doing is analyzing the track. And you can see that now it gives us our waveforms. If I double click on the track title, it's going to open up and I'm going to get the warp view, right? So you'll see it says warp here. If you go to your preferences, live preferences, record, warp, and launch, you can go in here and let's see, auto warp long samples, right? I have that on because I'm typically making mixtapes. If you are not typically making mixtapes, or the warping, you don't want to use warping on your music, you can turn that off. And just to give you an idea, if you wanted to turn warping off, you would unwarp that, and then let's grab our second song. And these are 2 separate BPMs, and you can check that after the song analyzes. So let's say I didn't want to warp anything. I could just drag the track here. Hopefully you guys can hear that. I'm going to double check that you can. There we go. Whew. I didn't think that was going to work for a second. Okay, and you guys stayed with me, so I appreciate that. So here we go. Now you guys can hear. So I could literally just drag this song. And that song's ending, so I'm going to bring it here. And there's my mix, right? I didn't touch anything. I didn't touch volume controls. I didn't touch the warping, nothing. Just dragging songs together, right? Fade out, fade in, easy. We're actually going to get a little bit more complicated than that. So these songs are fairly close together in BPM. I'm going to check them. They are 107 and 111. So I'm going to warp these. And sometimes most times you want to check this, right? So this is not the one of the songs. So I'm going to go. And there's my downbeat, right here. So I'm going to grab this, make a mark right there. Sometimes you want to keep it. I like to go set 111 here, and what that does is it cuts the song. So all this is now gone, and you can see that up here. I need to figure out how to get a cursor. So I went down here and I clicked on the downbeat. I can right click and go to set 111, and that makes it so it starts hot. And I've already warped it. And then now what the other thing I can do is go warp here, and there's just a couple different options. Warp from your straight is the one that works best for me. If you're having issues, what you can do is use some of the other ones to see. I'm going to set the BPM, the master BPM up here to 111. So both their songs are the same. This song is now warped. Inevitable, this song is warped. I can see that here. This song is not warped. I can see that here. So what I'm going to do is warp it, double check it. I'm just dragging to get down here. It looks like it starts on the 1. Let's double check. And it doesn't. So this is actually the 1, right? That hit right here. So there's my 111. And then I'm going to warp here straight. And now you want to actually double check this. And you see how the cursor is going on all the beats? Now if we go to the end of the song, that might not be the case, because it might fall off. I'm going to double check it. That looks good, right? Oh, yeah, so all the downbeats look good. I'm going to move it over just slightly. And if you want to double check yourself, you can turn on the metronome. That's these 2 dots up here. Boom, metronome on, and then now. And now I can just match it with my ears. I don't even have to look. I think looking is a lot easier. The metronome can get annoying sometimes, but if you want to double check on a tricky song, there's your metronome. So now both of our songs are warped, and we can actually start mixing them. So these songs are out of key. I don't know if they're going to go well together, but you know, the basic. I just want to teach you guys how to do things, right? So here's the end of the song-ish. 2, 3, 4, boom. I'm not even doing anything really. I just lined them up, and you guys can hear how that sounds. It's not terrible. I've heard worse. So again, I just lined them up. Now, one thing I'm noticing, we're peaking really hard, right? Because we did not put a limiter on the master. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm not going to go ahead and do the glue compressor as I did earlier, because I'm just going to show you that a limiter, just like that, can fix our problem. And now we're not getting this. If you want to go one more step, because we are peaking a little bit, you see that yellow coming down? That's how much the song is getting compressed. Not a lot, but it is a little bit. I'm going to switch the release to auto. I'm going to get the utility. I'm just going to bring it down maybe like 1 dB. And that way it's not compressing this at all, right? So let's go back, check our mix. And those bass hits are clashing. So that's the first thing I'm going to check. I'm going to double click the track. I'm going to grab this. There's my low. That's my low, right? So I can actually right click, rename, low. This is not going to do that for the other tracks. And all I'm going to do is right click again, show automation. And that's going to give me these lines, right? If you don't see those lines like that, all you do is you press the A button. I don't know why you have to press the A button to do that, but if you don't see your automation, hit the A key, and now your automation is here. And these lines are what you're looking for. So show automation for low. We got our track Inevitable here. And I'm just going to make a click here. And I want the bass on this song to remain the same, right? So I'm not going to touch that. So I'm actually going to grab the other song. Again, right click, show automation, boom. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click there, and I have 2 nodes. I have 2 dots. And so now I can adjust these dots, and that's going to adjust the low. So you'll see as I click this node and bring it down, that affects the low. So let's try that. Adjusting affecting the low. I didn't affect volume or anything. And now that sounds a little bit better, but you'll notice that the low left really soon, right? The low part of the song, you'll hear it. That's noticeable before there's anything to kind of complement it, right? So I'm going to hit the Alt key, and you see how it changed to the line. Alt key, and I'm just going to drag up, click and drag up. And you see what that did to the line, right? Kind of puts a bend in it. And now listen to the difference and when the bass drops out. Again, I haven't touched volume, I haven't touched anything. I lined the tracks up, I warped them, and then I added a simple volume cut with a bend. And that sounds really good. I'd probably leave it right there if I'm being honest, but let's do a little bit more. You remember how when we warped the track, we cut out a portion of it, right? So we went down, we found the one, we found the downbeat, and we put a marker there, and we said set 111, and that cut all this out, right? Why don't we bring it back? And that'll kind of give us a nice little build into it. So let's, I'm going to show you what I did there, right? So I added that back onto the track. So if we take off, this is one of the mutes. You can solo, or you can mute and turn on. So I'm going to turn this off. This is the top track, and we're just going to see what this sounds like. So we get that little piano flare. Now let's add it back. And that's a really nice mix. Even though these songs aren't in the same key, they're close, but not the same key. This song fades out, this song rolls, and we're done with our mix for this song. Now let's say for some reason this part of the song on top, can you guys see my cursor? Yeah, you can. Okay. This part of the song on top, let's say we want that to leave early. We can do that a couple different ways. I can grab and drag, and then, so let's say I want to drag it here, and then we're going to get an abrupt cut. So you can see it left really abruptly, right? So I don't want that. So let's smooth it out, because I want it to cut off there, but I want it to sound good. So I can press that A key again, the A on the keyboard. You see how it turns off my automation, but it gives me these fade lines. This right here, those are my fade lines. You can see what it does to the track. So there, I can drag to here, and now I'm gonna get a nice fade. Also, by putting that fade a little bit ahead, it gives this track a lot of room to breathe in. A little bit too much room, so I'm going to dial it back a little bit. I think that sounds really nice. Now, you can also kind of use these nodes to kind of change how it goes in and out. I actually don't use the fade as much because you lose a lot of control. I'm going to show you that if we just went double click and we went back to our volume, this is why we use the volume automation, because now I can go about right here, bring this down so it has a little bit of room for this other kick to come in, and then now I'm going to make another node and bring it all the way out to fade, and you can see how that sounds. It's not going to be that different. In fact, I like it less, so I'm going to make that little adjustment here. And that's what I like. Now let's say we want it to fade out a little bit later. We can drag this out, drag this note out, and now the song's going to be doing it. So I'm going to show you what this song does. I'm going to turn this off. And that's what it sounds like. And then with everything, and that right there is a nice mix. And what did we really do, right? What did we really do? We double clicked the track, we hit warp. We went down, we set 111 on here, we lined them up. That sounded okay. Then we added this part back in, we dragged this out. So originally it looked like this, and all we did is we dragged it back out, boom. So that gave us a nice little build into the switch. We went into our low on our audio effect track. We went into low, we did show automation. Not only did we make two nodes and drag this node down, we also added a bend by using the Alt key. So if I don't hold the Alt key, okay, there it goes. It makes another node. As soon as I hold the Alt key, that's when I can make a bend. And you guys can switch this around. Like let's say you don't want that song to go on for, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I can actually just go in, and because these songs are warped, all these numbers are bars. So I could probably just randomly grab that and then find another part of the song where it goes up. Like that. Don't make a node. Zoom in. Highlight here. If you use Control E, that makes a split. That's a very, very important hotkey. So Control or Command E will make a split in your track. And I can click this section, and I'm just going to go, let's see, I believe it's Command Shift Delete, and you see what it did. So there's my section. I hit Command Shift Delete, boom, and now it's a 1 minute 15-second song. So here I am. It's gonna sound a little weird. Or not. See how smooth that is? Because we warped the track, and these numbers represent bars. As long as we're, going in multiples of 4 for most styles of pop music, we get a nice cut. So I'm gonna show you that again. We cut out a minute of the song, and listen to how good this sounds. That's the power of warping. That's the power of warping right there. So that sounds good. Now we have our 1 minute version. We have our mix out. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to the next style of mixing? Let's see. I'm just going to delete these two. And then now I have another audio track. I'm going to hide this so we have more room. And then we did kind of like a pop funk one. So let's grab 2 other songs. You guys can see my iTunes for a second here. We're going to grab these 2. So grab this. And grab this. So again, it's going to stay clip deactivated until it analyzes. So you see here, that's the track. As soon as it analyzes, boom, we get the waveforms. And I can just drag this around. So let's see how we start the track. If you double click the stop button, it'll go to the beginning of your project. And actually, I think that's what I want to mix in. So let's watch how easy this is. I'm just going to drag this here, drag this over, boom. So there's the beginning of our song, the meat of it. All right, so there, and what I'm basically doing is I'm looking for in and out points on any song, right? I just downloaded these off of YouTube's free library. I've never really heard them before, but I knew they would kind of work for what we were doing here today. So what I'm looking for is places we can go in, and you can almost see them, right? There's the intro, there's the meat of the track, there's the breakdown, there's the second part of the meat of the track, and then you have your outro, right? You can see it. So this might be a good spot to mix in at. Or mix out. So maybe like that's where the new track comes in before you get to the breakdown. But let's see what the breakdown sounds like. And I can just click on the line here, and that's going to jump to the part of the song I want. Okay, so I'm not sure how this is going to work because typically if you're putting an acapella over something, you want it to be in key. But we'll try it. We'll do a different styles of mix out. So let's say I don't like this end part of the song. We already heard it in the beginning. I just want it out, right? I'm going to click in the middle of it. I'm going to hit Command E. That's my split. Again, very important. Delete that. And just because I'm used to working top to bottom, I'm going to move this here. And let's see what this sounds like. Again, I didn't even have to do hardly anything because I have that auto warp on. And this song is typically at 128. It's already warped. House and EDM is a little bit easier because it's easier for the program to find the one. It got it right this time, so I didn't have to go into the set 111. It's already warped so it's super slowed down. So this track is typically at 128. That's the typical BPM. Sometimes that is wrong, but for this one it got it right, 128. So I'm just going to move the master BPM up to 128, and this song's going to sound a lot more like it normally would. When do you decide when you make mixes in Ableton? Asks Papa B Funk. Yeah, warp is a little bit different than quantize. Quantize is if I hit the button at 2 different times, it matches it up. Whereas warp means the 2 songs are playing at different speeds and you match the speeds. Whereas quantize is you match the starting point. So it is warp. When do you decide when you make mixes in Ableton? I like to make mixes in Ableton now that I'm comfortable with it, almost exclusively. I will say that like hip hop is probably a better mixed live, just because of how Ableton works with warping and the way hip hop is typically mixed. I'm more of like a New York style hip hop DJ where you just kind of, you drop on the one, you drop on the intro before the one, a lot of cutting. West Coast DJs aren't like this anymore, but the West Coast style used to be, intro, outro blends for everything, even hip hop. So I like to make, here's how I look at it. If I make a mix in Ableton, now that I'm really fast with it, it'll usually take me between 2 and 4 minutes per song on the mixtape. And then I'll typically I'll listen to it again, and then I'll have an edit, and I'll listen to it again, and I'll have another edit. So typically, an hour mixtape will take me 3-4 hours now. Again, it used to take much longer. Now that I've been working in this program for, oh my gosh, somewhere between 5 and 10 years, it's a lot faster. So that mix will take me 4 hours. Now, if I'm making an hour mix and I do it live, that might take me an hour if I get it right the first time. But then I lose the ability to come in and change things without redoing the mixtape. Now, if you use a combination, I can make the mix, I can do the mix, takes an hour, drop it into Ableton, say, oh, I didn't like this mix. And then you cut out that part, you re-record your mix live, you redo the mix, take that part, insert it into Ableton, and then boom, you're using both, and now you can do both. Hopefully that made sense. So again, going back to the mix, and keep the questions coming, guys. I do not mind getting interrupted. That was a great question. Thank you, Papa B Funk. So here's this. Again, I've warped it. And that actually sounds pretty good. So what I'm going to do, though, because now there's nothing mixed, right? This is just song. And I know the song is actually going to start a little bit later. Yeah, so there's the start of the song. So I'm going to do, just to make the mix more interesting, I'm going to do what, like, if I was working live, I would make a loop. So all I did is I clicked there, I did our split, Command E. I'm going to drag this over, and as I'm dragging, I'm going to hit the Alt, and what that do is going to make a copy. And all this is going to do is get us to the mixing point, right? And it doesn't get easier than that. There's our loop. Another way to get to your effects, you see how I have my audio effect rack here, and its tail. I can change that to volume, and I can either do one of these fades, so I make 2 nodes, drag it down, boom, and you hear how it's fading out. But you'll notice that you can barely hear it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Alt again, and maybe not as sharp as before, maybe something like that. And now I can still hear it before it fades out. And there's the start of our new song. So that's, cutting into, and think about, look at all the stuff that we cut out, guys. Boom. We cut out all that and just dropped it in. We didn't, we played with the volume towards the end. We didn't touch this track. Did we do anything? We did nothing to the volume, we did nothing to the gains, nothing to the tail. So we cut out we didn't cut out the lows on this track. You guys, this is so simple. And you can make, and you can really have like a canvas of music, and it's almost like you could just redo mixes over and over again. So you do the mix, oh, you didn't like it, you redo the mix again, oh, you didn't like it, and then boom, you get the final product that you want once you learn all the tools. You know, actually, let's do this. So right now, it sounds like this. I just want you to focus on the top part. This is all we're hearing. We're not hearing the bottom. So that sounds really good. And then what we can do is, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add this reverb to it. Yep, and you can hear the reverb kind of tailing off. So add a little bit of reverb to that. Now I don't want to add it to the whole thing, so I have to right click, show automation. Ooh, right click, show automation. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry, I'm on the wrong track. So boom, right click, show automation. And then maybe like, we probably want it to be pretty sharp. So we'll just go here, make it like 31%. And then this is going to change it a ton, but adds a little bit of atmospheric effect to it. Yes, I really enjoy making the process of a mixtape in Ableton versus recording it live. There's too many mistakes you can make. Like I was saying earlier, you can literally just redo the mix as many times as you want. Now, once you get good at it, you typically know how you want the mix to go, and like I know exactly what controls to use, and I can do my thing. But just, you know, you make a mix one day, and then just being able to listen to it in the car and be like, oh, I didn't really like how that turns out, and you can literally just go open this up, go straight to that mix, you know, change your filter, change your reverb, change your whatever you need to change, and then boom, listen to it over again. And then instead of having to remake that entire mix, or make, you know, doing that mix again live, importing that into Ableton, cutting out the part you didn't like, reporting in the in part you did like it's just much more controlled way to make mixes. Like I'll do, you know, live mixing is great for a lot of styles of music, but for it's the amount of control that you have with Ableton is just, it's a really cool way to DJ. I'm just kind of having Kansas form. In terms of enjoying the process, not trying, yeah, I mean, I want to be as efficient as possible, so I enjoy efficiency. If I can, if it takes me 4 hours to make a mix the Ableton way, and you know, it comes out better, I get a better product, even if it took me an hour to do the other way, yeah, I just want a better product. So I'm working on music, I'm enjoying it either way, and I enjoy getting a better product out of Ableton. As far as the question being, you know, enjoying the process. This is cool too. Like, it's, like I said, it's like a canvassy, you know, there's people who live paint and they go out there and they do everything in one stroke, or like the street painting type thing. And there's people who, you know, they do the first layer, then they do the second layer, and then the third layer. And I think that's kind of the difference between the live DJing and this part. Cool. All right, B-Funk's happy. Let's see what else I can do. I think we're done with the EDM stuff. So you guys can see how to do EDM tracks. We'll delete those. Go, and I think I have 2 more that I had. Yep. So this is hip hop. Okay, cool. So we're going to do this one first. So when I was talking to JB, I was telling him that hip hop is like the only, if I was making all hip hop mix, I would or like an old school, like stuff that's hard to quantize, that's when I make stuff live. If it's something that's doesn't quantize well, or I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting and quick mixing, or not quick mixing, drop mixing, that's when I'll do a live mix. So here's our song. Obviously, that's way sped up. So this song is typically 97. I go to my master BPM and I just drop this down because I have it on auto warp. And so anytime a track that's super long gets dropped in, it automatically warps it for me. So let's double check to make sure it was right. Sounded like it was. Cool, so that's right. Right on the money. I don't have to change anything. Again, if it was off, I could right click this yellow, hit set 111, and then hit warp from here straight. And that would get me what I need. But again, Ableton does such a good job. And then it's always good to get in the habit of going towards the end of the track where the warp might be off. But it still looks good. So again, I haven't touched, I'm going to adjust it the tiniest bit. But I really haven't touched this track. And so because it's hip hop, we're probably not going to have an extended mix like we would house or pop. So I'm going to grab this new track. I'm just going to drop it here. So let's see how it did. I am double click the track, highlight. So let's see if this is the one. I'm going to solo it, so I'm only hearing this. That's not the one. So watch what we can do. Here's the one, right? Fine. Chicka Chick is one. So there's that. I'm going to double click, set 111 here. Right click again, warp from here straight. And that should get us what we need. Again, if you wanted to check it, all we do, hit play, metronome. Beat sounds great. So we lost this part of the track, right? So all I have to do, these numbers up here, these are bars, right? If point, that's a beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I should be able to line up these ones and have it sound good right out the gate, right? Good, not great. We'll fix it to make it great, but this should sound good right out the gate. Smooth. Now those songs aren't in the same key, so it sounds a little bit off, but as far as like if a DJ did this in the club or at an event, no one would bat an eye at all. And again, guys, all we did, B-Funk, this answers your question as far as enjoying the process. There's nothing more enjoyable about dragging a song in, not touching it all, putting it where it needs to be, and having it sound good, and just me having to make tweaks to make it sound excellent, right? This is probably how it would sound in the club, just from a normal mix. There's nothing wrong with that. But we can make it a little bit better. So you'll notice I cut out this part. When we did the 111 thing, we cut out that little scratch before. And you guys know I love my scratches. So all we do is we drag this back out, and let's see how it sounds now. So you can't really hear the scratches. If you solo, you can. So let's try a couple different things to make it sound good. We can click here to get into our little controls. We'll go to volume, and let's just try bringing the volume down a bit right before. So that's a little bit too much. And Brandon, this is dope because like every time I make this adjustment, that's me going into my DJ program and then re-recording the song. So however long that takes versus just click and move, right? Easy. So I think it needs to be a little bit higher. And I don't think I want it to cut out that fast. So I'm going to use the click and drag using the Alt to bend it so it goes down at the last second. Woo! And then I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more so it really accentuates that little chicka chicka. Beautiful. And then if we wanted to, go into the lows and then make it so it had a lot of space, I can, click here, drag over here. Oh, not that. Drag back that way. And then now this has a ton of space. Probably not noticeable. And again, you can just keep doing that over and over again until you find something you like. Let's say we wanted to cut out a piece of the song. Okay, that's a pretty good spot. Ooh, I like this song. Alright, so now we're getting closer to the end of the song. Yeah, okay, so here's a good part. So there's that. I'm just going to Control E to split that. I don't want any of this song. And let's see, I know I have this here, so I'm just going to split that here. Click this. Oop. So yeah, that's regular delete. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to do Command Shift delete. So it deletes everything. Now you'll see, again, all I did was delete the section. Listen to how this sounds. Easy. Again, we want to spice it up. Add the scratches back in there. Boom. There's the scratches. Actually, instead of doing volume, we'll just do the low. So we'll cut out the low when the scratches come back in. Delete that node. Bend it. Again, Alt to bend. So it's going to do that the last second. Maybe we'll dial it back a little bit. And actually give you guys a little bit more. And you see, we didn't change the volume, but you could still hear the scratches better. Listen again. And that fade out still kind of gives us like the end of the song feel. But we cut out a ton of the song, right? Easy. And then maybe we turn the volume down a little bit more before those scratches. Again, we can do Alt this way, but we can also do Alt the other way so it goes out quick. And that sounds good. Okay, no questions. That's hip hop. Let's see what else I can talk about. We talked about the master track. Talked about reverb. I'm just going to do the wrap up, and if there's a question during the wrap up, I'll answer that. But if you're watching this on YouTube and you learned something or found something interesting, please, please, please hit that like button so other DJs can find the video and can create a better DJ community. The more questions I get, the more likes that I get, the more people view the video, the more people ask questions, the more motivated that I am to make new videos, and I know exactly what you guys want. DJ Lord JB, big thank you to you for requesting this video. I hope it helped out. Subscribe to the channel if you wanted to see more tutorials. I also do performance mixing as well as podcasting, gear reviews, all that stuff. Check out the YouTube channel if you're on Twitch now just to see kind of what I do. But I definitely appreciate you all being here. Share the video if you know someone's using Ableton to make DJ mixes and they need some help. And thank you guys for being here. I do not see any questions, so peace. I'm out.